So, the terrorists in my head keep saying they're investigating me. Investigating me while talking in my head. Wow. And they are saying they are from my country. They're American citizens. That they are, my country of origin and American citizens. They speak Arabic and English fluently. And they are part of some terrorist organization that is laundering money and committing crimes or framing people, and manipulating a narrative and disguising the records for these investigations, and basically just trafficking people and doing all kinds of stuff in order to gain permissions to use this highly sophisticated, classified surveillance / weapon of mass destruction, okay? That is specifically supposed to be used by national security, but being that this is a multicultural country, everyone and their mom has the rights to use it if you know how to pursue it, right? So there's that. However, it got into the hands of the wrong people, and of course, based on what I'm hearing, they've committed so many crimes, and they've crossed just about everyone. So they're not really all that enthused to watch anybody bring forward that these telepathy technologies are in fact they are in fact and that they've been using them. Go figure, right? They're talking in my head and they're investigating me. So this is what I'm doing. So since they've been saying they don't want me to discuss that I hear voices in my head, I am doing the liberty of discussing it to the death. They made my hair fall out, so I have several bald spots. I mean, bald spots everywhere. And tonight, before I said I was going to do my reading, and I always want to sit down and read or do something or learn something before bed, and it looks like my life is just so full of drama with these, it was just before it was like baby daddy drama, and then it was like, oh, the fun life of dating drama, and then it was trying to get my life back intact drama, and then it was this surprise schizophrenia drama of whatever this is going on in my head. And for 6 years, 3 out of the 6 running from what I thought was stalkers, and the following 3 years, once it was evident to everyone around me that I was experiencing what everyone perceives to be psychosis, the voices started screaming, we're real people in my head. And fuck you, bitch, and this and this and that. Discuss this like we're in your head. Just keep discussing. First it was, well, they didn't even care because I was embarrassed. Okay, after the first 3 years, for 2 years after that, I was embarrassed to explain I heard voices in my head. So I just walked around acting like it wasn't happening when it was. And all they wanted to do while I went to work, okay, and it was like forza. Forza in Arabic means like opportunity, okay? So they saw that as a forza, opportunity, okay? And they thought, okay, perfect. All we got to do is make her extremely unattractive so that her earning potential drop, we'll make her want to cry, we'll make her super depressed so she doesn't want to go to work or get up in the morning. We're going to, and then we're just going to isolate her, okay, until she starts to look irresponsible again, right? Like I'm not going to work and because I'm not, and in hopes that me being embarrassed was like a strong enough feeling or uncomfort for me that I would, insecurity for me that I would, that they could actually try and use that to their advantage and traffic me into some toxic environment, because they kept saying, oh, if you see a medical professional, you're going to look like you do drugs. Oh, it's going to be on your record. No one's going to want to hire you. So, of course, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it's like, haha, you're dumb. What are you telling people you're dumb? So all of that was going on in my head. And the voices saying all that in my head. And then it was, oh, if you keep calling the cops and telling them you hear us, they're going to take custody of your kids, or they're gonna CPS is gonna come and take the kids. And of course I freaked out and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to call cops anymore. I called them, I swear to you, like 300-400 times in the course of 3, maybe 4 years. And of course they were like, okay, you're crazy, Renee. And I didn't know what to say. And I'm like, then I was like, okay, this is like right around the time I started going back to work and trying my best to ignore it without going to seek medical attention or calling law enforcement. And when I was being abused, the voices would say, it's us, you stupid bitch. We're the ones abusing you. We got in that person's head. And so I would feel sorry for that person abusing me, that I wouldn't want to call law enforcement to say, hey, I'm being mistreated. So all of this was going on for about 2.5 years. And then finally my daughter, because I would come home and I would scream, right? And I would cry, and my neighbors would hear me, but they didn't know. I mean, because there are walls that are between us, I'm sure they're thinking, oh my gosh, I know I really wanted to do my best. I'm going to read regardless, because they're talking like, are you going to read? To say they could think I'm on the phone. Maybe I'm like yelling at my kids. Maybe I'm whatever. So my daughter was coming to me and she was like, she said it 2 or 3 times, like, Mom, you're schizophrenic, Mom. Stop trying to hide it. And I'm like, no, people talk in their head. But it would come to a point where I would get so frustrated, I'd want to scream, right? Because the voices would be so aggressive, and then they'd keep me up all night like they did last night, in hopes that I would run out or scream before to disturb the neighbors, so that instead of calling the cops, they would just say, hey, we need Renee to leave because she's disturbing us, and kind of get together with the board of that's what the voices were trying to accomplish. Now I was in a much bigger condo, and the condo that I was in, right, because it was a 3-bedroom, and I was like, okay, the kids are going to move in with me. This is perfect. And my mom has a 3-bedroom and a 2-bedroom. And so I ended up in the 3, and my mom is so generous, right? She was like, stay there, get comfortable, take the kids. And I mean, it's so big, and I mean, vaulted ceilings, beautiful condo. And I started to feel lonely, so the voices started playing on my feelings, right? And they would sit there, they're playing with my nose to make my nose irritated. They do stuff like that all the time, like all the time. So they would play on my feelings like, oh, well, maybe, and then all of a sudden this condo, my mom no longer wanted to stay here. So I figured, oh my goodness, because she was staying in this 2-bedroom, and our house, well, my mom's house, was being rented, but the renter left. So my mom ended up wanting to go back to the house, and this condo was vacant. I'm like, okay, I'm by myself. My kids are primarily with their dad. Excuse me, let me get a new tissue. Sorry. They're playing with my sinuses, making my forehead swell again, making my eyes look weird. They're stopping circulation here, so my eyes look dark. They're like, you're the ugliest piece of shit on this planet. That's what they keep saying, because I'm being so frank about everything, and I don't care. If I just drop dead, it's because there were terrorists talking in my head, and that telepathy weapon it can cause heart attacks, it can suffocate you to death, it can all kinds of things. They can talk in your head, dude. It's crazy. I know I sound loony, but that is the case. They haven't got me doing stupid stuff. With that said, they played on my feelings, and I was like, okay, I'll move into the single. I'll come into the smaller condo. Plus, the condos weren't paid. They're not paid off, so of course we're paying our mortgage. This is a little cheaper for us, and I thought, okay, this help. It won't be such an expense. Great opportunity. And then when the kids are ready to move in with me, because they're with their dad, we'll figure out how to move back into the 3-bedroom. In the meantime, my mom is now renting out that condo, and now I'm contemplating. It's like my son just moved in with me, and my daughter's thinking about wanting to move in with me, but she likes her school, so we're kind of still discussing what's going on there. Plus, she has an IEP, and she's I want her to start in a sport. I'm trying to help her gain back her confidence. Like, a lot has gone on in 6 years because of the voices I've heard. And she's heartbroken, okay? So, heartbroken and behind and feeling like she doesn't have anything to offer. Like, she actually tells me she feels dumb, and it breaks my heart. So, with that said, the voices in my head, when I moved into this condo, being that my neighbors were much closer, would start like aggressively attacking me, right? And I would come home from work, okay, for the 2 years, and my hair would fall out by the chunks, okay? I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, this they can't be this evil, right? Like, initially it was like, okay, I can still manage to make my hair look nice, no big deal. They can't be serious. This is a joke, right? And I'm still out of my mind, not like completely, but still like not understanding, like, why would someone be talking in my head, right? And anyways, I would be in tears, wanting to scream, still not wanting to tell anyone what was going on. And my daughter came in and said, Mom, that's when she said, Mom, you're schizophrenic, Mom. She said it 2 or 3 times. Because I would talk to myself all day and kind of like mumble things under my breath. And then finally, by the end of the night, I would want to scream. So that was an attempt to see if I'd get embarrassed and want to leave my condominium in the middle of the night. The voices, like I keep saying, they're trying to traffic me out of work, out of the gym, out of church, out of my house, like, and forcefully, like, they want to like force drugs down my throat and force me out on the street and make sure that I'm not making money. Like, they're trying to deliberately sabotage everything I've done. Like, every opportunity, every chance, everything I've done, they were the responsible. I know it sounds crazy, but there's a terrorist ring out there. Bill Gates is like ready to pull down drones and satellites, and they want to do the world's biggest investigation because they're tired of these terrorists coming forward, manipulating records, and they want to sentence them to death, basically. That's what it sounds like, or whatever, however they intend to handle these terrorists. I genuinely, I guess I would assume that, so it's not such a huge investigation. I mean, not such a, there aren't so many executions, and by executions I mean sentencing people to death or life. It would be as a trade-off to be surveilled using the same technology, and it would be in front of the public, and basically everyone's lives that they broke, they would owe monetary compensation to. And I mean, if people want to work with them or they don't, they have the right to do that based on their criminal activity. So I'm assuming that's the case, because that kind of that's starting to make more sense. If in fact, I think if they don't, then it's like, okay, they're going to put armed forces and start taking down marshals, because now these terrorists are using this telepathy weapon and they're going buck wild. Okay, from what they're saying in my head, I mean, they're saying they can, and they've taken control of my vehicle. I felt my vehicle like I've actually lost control of it. It escalates on its own, and then the engine starts to get really loud. My coolant started to, and my car, beautiful, like I just bought it 3 years ago. The warranty is up, and all of the sudden, like the week after my warranty is up, my car falls apart, and they're like, haha, you fucking bitch. I promise you not, okay? Anyways, going back to what my daughter was saying, she was like, Mom, you're schizophrenic. Sorry, I lost track for a minute there. And I said, okay, you're absolutely right. I need to go seek medical attention. This is not a joke. They're in my head. And that's when I started to think more logically. One of the voices, okay, so they'll say some of the most threatening, belligerent, like, and they'll be completely honest with me in my head about what they've done, say, so that I don't, because it's so outlandish, and then it's in my head that I'd be too afraid to repeat what I've heard. So they'll say crazy stuff, and I've actually said it on some of these, on some of my videos. But anyways, I don't want to focus in on what they've said, because that's for another time. Once I had taken, like, I decided, okay, I'm going to take control of the situation now. I'm going to seek medical attention. Hopefully the medications work. Let's give it a try. So I called crisis assessment team. I was like, I've had enough. I'm hearing voices. They sound like terrorists. Really threatening. No, I don't want to commit suicide. No, I don't want to hurt anybody. However, the voices in my head, it's almost like they want to deprive me and hurt me and abuse me and torture me until I feel like I have no way out, and I just want to kill myself because there's nothing for me to like, I feel trapped. That's what they're trying, that's the attempts they're trying to make in my, with what they're doing with this telepathy technology. Mind you, my eyes look so weird. Maybe you can't tell here, but this is not the color of my eyes. This is the skin. They're pulling on it. They're making this happen. Promise to God, they're sickening. The men keep saying, we're gonna fucking age you. We're gonna fucking age you, and then they're trying to twist my arm. So, okay. So the 2 years, my hair is starting to fall out, right? But I was still wearing it, and I was like, okay. And I obviously wasn't doing drugs, and they didn't want to outwardly say in my head, hey, go do drugs, stupid bitch, or go commit suicide, because they're conducting an investigation, not supposed to be talking in my head, so they're trying to sound like they're coming from outside. And um um and that it just, I was irked by it, and I just left, and I did, and I just, whatever, I just keep running from what's going on in my head. That was their attempt to, and while they're abusing me using this telepathy weapon. So look, my hands are super pink. Okay, that's, they're stopping circulation. My fingers are, and I woke up and they were blue. So now, after to discuss, after I started seeing the, my daughter said, okay, Mom, go seek, I think you need to seek medical attention. And I said, you're absolutely right. So I went, and I started, I called the crisis team. They came, they connected me with a psychiatrist, a psychologist, this and that. And for a year, okay, I decided, okay, I need Social Security. I don't know. Like, I started forgetting. I would get to work and I was dizzy. I mean, they would just shock my brain, and it felt like my whole world shook. Okay, and sometimes I would black out, and they would sit there and I have these visuals of the women talking in my head, and they would just, like, as if, and like they're making fun of me, like, hi, she's just nodding off, like, and they would say that in my head as it was happening to me. And that's when I was like, okay, yeah, no, for sure they're playing with this, like, I could have brain damage. I have no idea, like, the potential injuries that this telepathy technology weapon, whatever, can cause. So I started doing MRIs, and I was like, and plus I need financial stability. I'm going to have to apply for Social Security. I need my insurance. I need Medi-Cal. I need this. I need that. Because I was working real estate. It started to slow down, and I was like, okay, this might be, this being that I missed, and then I missed the wave of that 2%, okay? And that was right when I was getting ready to get back into work, and I had just started working with a friend of mine, and I want to go back to that for just a moment. When I was, like, in 2018, I started working with a good friend of mine, and that's when the voices started getting really active, right? And it was like they knew the interest rates were going to drop. And for those 2 years, that was when I thought people were stalking me. I was so out of my mind. I missed the opportunity to make money and support my children. And it just set my daughter back. It broke my kids' hearts. Okay. Anyway, so they did that. And I got into the real estate, and it was like as if they had all this planned. The real estate, I got into real estate. It was at the tail end of that 2%, and then they wanted to make sure that I was making just enough to not qualify for Medi-Cal, but not enough to, like, go splurge on my kids and go, put them in sports and music and whatever else, parents want to do with their children. Just enough to basically cover my ends, and with whatever extra money, I guess they were hoping that I'd go smoke weed and drink, and that I would feel comfortable and satisfied or something. And then I would be too embarrassed to say anything, and then I just sat here and slowly died, and then at that point, if I'm dying, they'd run and say, well, Renee is being negligent. I don't know how they intended to wrap up this investigation. If they're watching me die in my head, they can see my brain activity. But they're basically trying to deteriorate my health, and in which case they have. In a year's time, my eyes have changed. They intentionally make sure that I never feel gorgeous, because the men want to use that as leverage to get me to stop discussing what's going on with my head, because the women are involved and they're just as much terrorists as the men, and they're going to be convicted if in fact they don't come forward and explain what's been going on with this telepathy technologies. And what they're after is money. And I mean, I don't owe them money. I don't know them at all. Like, I have nothing to do with them at all. I'm a scapegoat so that they can, I'm Egyptian just like they are. I'm Christian, they're Muslim. So it's like this whole like bullshit story so that they could use this telepathy technology saying they're minorities in a predominantly Christian country. And being that we're Egyptian and so are they don't want to feel like, if they're making any money here in the United States, that no one's being biased, and that anything that belongs to them stays within their possession, blah, blah, blah. Plus, they want to make sure no one's defaming the name of Muslims, and then they're being persecuted here in America after the 9/11 incident, blah, 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 right? Drama, right? Sorry, I not that the 9/11 was drama, but the things that they've come up with to use these telepathy technologies. Now, after I started seeing, now back to this, once I started seeing the psychiatrist and the psychologist, they were like, okay, that's enough. And I was like, no, I'm like actually going full force with this, and the SSI needs at least 6 months of medical records. So I was like, okay, perfect. I'll put in my application now. By the time the 6 months comes around, I'll have enough records accumulated to provide, hey, this is in fact the case. And luckily, I mean, I was, not to say luckily, but I did have an EEG, came back abnormal, and that helped strengthen my case as to needing Social Security. Now, as times went on, I decided, okay, I'm going to take the time off work because I was at work for 2 years. And I said, I'm just going to pursue nothing but like getting tested from head to toe. I want to make sure that there are no injuries. They're saying they can damage your pancreas, cause you diabetes, that they can they can ruin your vision, that they can dehydrate you, that they can stop your circulation. Look at my hands, okay? Look at this. Because I'm saying, I'm talking and I don't care. Because I'm like, if everyone knows, then you're at a standstill and I don't care. Plus, I'm like one of the people, like I'm not, so they're gonna, what they want to attempt to do is say, oh, Renee heard all this in her head, or she heard all this, but we don't know where it came from, right? So now they've opened the doors to investigate anyone within my proximity over the course of the years that they were investigating me. Okay, these psychotic terrors, and then be entitled to what's considered my network, which is my Coptic Orthodox Church, anyone that were patients of my dad, anybody that's patients of my mom, people that attend schools with us. So they want to open up all these doors using me and saying, oh my gosh, we have to do a huge investigation. Something's going on with Renee and it's not obvious, but she is like communicating with this person, because they'll talk to me in my head and I'll respond back. It's in my head. Okay. So I got really weirded out. Anyways, still for a while, I didn't even realize like, oh, hey, I can start to clear up this like nonsense of what they're doing. And it seemed to me as though if they're going to utilize this investigation technology that they have to actually disclose, right? What they're doing. Well, I guess they don't technically because it's confidential, but there are other terrorists that are also affiliated with their terrorist organization, and there are monetary. They're like they all have funds wherever, and so they want to run their investigations separately, but they want to somehow collaborate. I don't know how that works, but I'm not a terrorist. I don't understand all of the details, but this is like 6 years of gathering, like from what I'm saying, and then it made sense. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why they're talking, because their other, like there must be the Central Intelligence Agencies must have basically these huge maps, right, to identify, and then anytime anybody is being investigated, we're like points on a map, right, that just light up, and it says, okay, Renee Babawi, this and that about me, right? And so they know, hey, Renee is being investigated, and then they can themselves, the Central Intelligence Agencies, tap in and see what I'm doing, as well as the terrorists talking in my head, that are considered confidential informants. Plus, anyways, more. That's another day. I keep going off track. From the time that I started seeing the medical professional, it was like, bitch, I'm done talking. You're fucking ugly. Your hair is, and it started. Okay, so especially when I put in my SSI application, and I put in my EDD, and I was trying to find ways, and I'm looking for housing now assistance. The voices were just like, no way, you can't collect anything. If you want to do something, I'm telling you, bitch, you have to ask me. And then they got even weirder, and the men were like, no, as a matter of fact, you got to ask the women, and if the women, you don't listen to the women and they give me permission to abuse you using this technology, I'm gonna do so. So the women would come like, you get that, bitch? Like, they're talking in my head like psychotic whores. And I was like, sorry, throwing me off. So they would sit there, and I would say absolutely not. So they would tell the men, go ahead and abuse her with this with whatever this weapon is. And I would get dizzy. My hair would start falling out. My skin would start swelling. Just all kinds of nonsense, right? Like, I told you, you're not to go request public assistance. You're to go to work when I say so. To talk to who I say you can. You don't discuss us in your head. Like, and I was like, not happening, right? For me, I was like, nope. I'm not, and then I was thinking when they were saying that, I'm like, no, because I want you guys sentenced to death, period. And if in fact, I tell everyone that I'm schizophrenic, which I am, and I'm not lying about it, but not, well, what seems like schizophrenic. So I'm not going to lie that I hear voices in my head. So whatever it seems like, and whatever the medical professionals would diagnose me as is what I am, right? So I was like, okay, I'm schizophrenic because it sounds like some people, the governments are trying to assess which people are actually schizophrenic and who is not, because of the use of this technology and the way they're manipulating the records. So with that said, I was like, okay, this is not just a safety net, but this is a great opportunity to make sure that whoever I'm hearing in my head gets sentenced to death. And that way I'm protecting everyone that has come, that has been involved with me in some way or live next, like just to prevent anyone else being dragged into this, and opening up a wider, like, and not opening up, but just to protect myself and protect, because I'm like, oh my gosh, they're psychotic. These terrorists are in my head. They're saying some psycho shit, and now they want to get behind it again, right? So I was like, oh, like that is absolutely not happening. They have to be the ones that are sentenced, and that's when I was like, okay, well, if you try to say that it's somebody else, you can't. I said I'm schizophrenic, and if you're gonna lie, and if you want to provide evidence, then you go ahead and take your classified records, or you go discuss these classified records with those Central Intelligence agents to say that I'm lying. Bottom line, and take me to court, and let's do this in front of the entire planet, if that's the case, because these weapons aren't. They want, what the government is trying to do is have them, the terrorists, because they've been misusing it. It's actually not just the tech. It's such a sophisticated weapon. It can actually heal you. Okay, it doesn't have to. It doesn't. I mean, it could harm you, but it also has potentials to turn you into the best you. It can check your vitals. It can make sure that you're eating healthy. It knows what your body's processing. It can read your algorithms. So, God, I went off track. As I'm going to keep doing this because there's just so much to say. So as time went on, or where was I? So I kept telling them, okay, well, no, I'm going to keep telling you, I'm going to make sure that everyone knows that the voices I hear are specifically in my head. If in fact, okay, I'm not schizophrenic, then prove it. Like, and there's nothing in and as far as the medical records are concerned, if someone presents these symptoms or whatever, these obvious check marks to the diagnosis of, then they fall into that spectrum. And I did. Everybody was like, Renee's experiencing psychosis. She thinks someone's stalking her. So it wasn't like I was making it up. I have like police records, the police department, they have the video cameras. They came over to my house. I mean, like so much evidence as to me losing my marbles. So it's not like I'm making up that I hear voices in my head. I'm just now coming to the realization more and more. I feel now that I'm on pretty solid ground in regards to what's going on, that I know how to conduct myself. But initially it was a roller coaster, and the more I attempt, and it's crazy, like it's not even an attempt, it's just to make money or to find love or to get connected or to have some chemistry with someone, man or woman, just and really just create these bonds between people. The voices in my head are deliberately like hurting me. I mean, I'm having stroke after stroke in the middle of a conversation with someone, and now I look I'm not present, and I look off a little bit, and my conversation is choppy, kind of like it is now. And people start to, they don't feel that chemistry between us, and so they'll just pull away, which is what the voices in my head are trying to do. It's crazy. I'm like, I don't do drugs, to the psycho bitches in my head, and they're like, well, if you don't fucking do drugs, bitch, go kill yourself. That's what the voices in my head keep saying. And I'm telling you, they keep saying they're Egyptian American Muslim women. The women are the trashiest of the trash. I swear to you. And they'll say, my family over here is you stupid ass bitch. I don't give a shit. And they see my daughter and they see my son and they've seen them cry and they see what they need and they know what's going on and they've seen what was like. They know. They know every aspect of my life. They sat there in my head and told me things about me that I forgot from when I was a toddler. Like, that's how long they've been saying, they've been stalking me. And basically, they've set out to make sure that I die and that I'm, what the claims they've made against me are, or look, the narrative that they present looks valid, okay? So that, in fact, so whatever compensation they get for it, it's just like whatever it is they're gaining out of it, to present this and like, I'm like, what? Sorry, they're playing with my head again. So they presented all this to me like, okay, we've been doing this to you for quite some time. You're basically our bitch. That's what the mentality of the shitheads talking in my head are saying. Like, if I say this and I say that, you're going to do it. And I'm not joking because, and whatever. And it was just like, okay, well, if you're not going to do drugs, you're not going to go find a man, you stupid, then I'm just going to make your hair fall out, you stupid bitch. Don't even fucking think about taking pictures. Don't think about looking gorgeous. Don't think, like, trying to play these games with me. It's not, I'm not joking. And then they're like, and then when I'm like, no, fuck you, you fucking psycho bitch. Are you like crazy? And then when I don't care, one of the voices will say, okay, they're making my eyes go cross-eyed. They're making my eyes go cross-eyed. When I don't care to entertain them, okay, and I'm like, you're a psycho piece of shit. I'm gonna make sure that everyone knows that I hear voices in my head, because I don't want someone misunderstanding that, or thinking that it's them when it's not them I'm talking with. I'm talking to the voices in my head. And just like, in this ongoing battle. And so one of the women in my head will be like, Leah, about my daughter. Okay. And they will repeatedly say that as if they're going to abuse my daughter in the same way they're abusing me. And sat there, said, we'll drug her, we'll hurt her, we'll do this. And it'll all be by her own will, blah, blah, blah. Like psychotic shit, okay? And I'm like, absolutely not dying without telling everyone on the face of this freaking planet that I hear voices in my head. Like, the piece of shit talking in my head just lost her straight marbles. That is how I feel. Okay? And not only that, what a fucking airhead. You're talking in my head, so people are holding you accountable, and they're holding you accountable to disclose exactly what you've done in this investigation, to whom you've done it, and the way they're discussing it is to discuss it inside my head, so it's recorded on the record. But the record means absolutely nothing if I don't say, hey, I'm schizophrenic, or if I don't call the cops when I'm being mistreated. So it's null and void if I sat there and did nothing about it, right? And especially if, oh my gosh, even worse, if I ran around accusing innocent people. These bitches are sitting, excuse my language, sitting behind a computer in their house, in the comfort of their house, talking behind a computer, hiding. You wouldn't know them from Joe Schmo. And I'm not going to say, I know they're Egyptian because they speak Arabic fluently, and so do I. So I understood that, it just became apparent to me over time. I was like, okay, at first I thought it was like people, I lost my mind, like people from my church. I'm like, people I grew up with and I love, like I lost it. They're not Coptic Orthodox Christians, and not to say all Muslims are, because these bitches are using religion as a scapegoat to get innocent Muslims to fight their wars. These are terrorists. Terrorists are terrorists. They're just assholes because on their birth certificates from the Middle East, it will say Muslim or Christian. And so they'll sit there and say they're Muslim to start this tension between the faiths. So, anyways, all that psycho stuff. So the women kept saying, not she, there's several of them, would say, I promise to God, if you don't stop, your hair is going to keep falling out. Ha ha ha. Your hair is going to keep falling out. Now, I want you to see, okay? So much of my hair, I mean the back of my head, okay? To some people, they're like, this is thick, Renee, right? To me, this is thin, like thin. This is like 20% of my hair, maybe less. I have like chunks of bald spots. I can't wear my hair up. I can't, and they did it intentionally. I can't wear it up. I can't wear it down. I can't wear it. And the more I discuss it, the more my hair fell out. So that way, because it was curly, and so the bitches, the women in particular, were saying, "Okay, haha, we'll just thin it so thin that she has to straighten it, and the blow dryer will burn her follicles." And it's on the record that she's blow drying her hair because her hair fell out. I went twice to do 2 biopsies, okay? And both times they said telogen effluvium is supposed to grow back over the course of 2 years. In 2 years span, my hair could have grown back. Instead, it fell out more. So they wanted to thin it as much as possible the second time around so that the next time I go do a biopsy, there are no follicles to do a biopsy on. I mean, comes back and it's like there's nothing, your hair looks fine, right? And in fact, if you do use the blow dryer close and without them, heat can burn and it will scab your follicles, and your follicles will eventually close up. So I try to oil my scalp as much as possible. I use Rogaine. It's unfortunate I don't look as tidy, but I mean, not on occasion, but I mean, over the weekends, I'll do it once a week. I'll do it twice a week, but really for me, at this point, I want it to grow back so desperately that I'm refusing to straighten it unless I do the flat iron or and that's it. If I do the flat iron, or I do it only once a week. So they kept saying that, and then the men are like, we're men, and we're sitting here telling you you're ugly, you stupid piece of shit, as if they're like dying, and then they'd sit there, and the women and them are flirting together, and like, haha, you're slow, you're retarded, while giving me a stroke. I promise to God. Calling me retarded and telling me you're ugly and no one's gonna want you, you slow bitch, in my fucking head. Well, like, they're wild, the women, man, and they sat there and they're like, this is serious, bitch, like as if them being sentenced to death for the crimes they're committing is more important than my life, which is, and I'm innocent, and I'm clearly a victim of their crimes. Like, I am just so beyond like weirded out. And then I'm like, okay, well, why don't you go get the records on your own? And don't you have money? Like, because I kept saying, oh, we got money, bitch. And so, and they're doing all this in my head, and I saw them like throwing money on a bed and all kinds of stuff. And like, these are visuals in my head, not actually seeing them in person. And so, and they kept saying like, we got money, you stupid piece of shit. So I'm like, well, then why don't you go, with all the money you have, go buy your records, and rather than having to discuss it with anybody, just buy them and walk away, right? Businessman, because they keep saying they're businessmen. And so, and then they keep calling me dumb and retarded while they're causing me a stroke. And I'm like, well, okay, stupid piece of shit. Then why don't you go? Why are you even talking in my head in the first place? You don't know how to hack into someone's head without needing permissions from any of these government agencies? And then you have friends that are holding you accountable to taking responsibility for the crimes you're committing, and that's why you're talking in my head. And like you have, it sounds to me like you got people in every direction checking you, honey. And like I want to just keep myself safe, and the more I do that by explaining, by seeking medical attention, by being there for my kids. When I went to seek an attorney to make sure that she got IEP services because she was set back so far. Okay, testing 4th grade math in 9th grade. So I said, okay, well, if that's the case, her dad has ADHD. Who knows what's wrong with me? On top, like, if I don't know if there was anything wrong or if they've done something, I have no idea. But I was like, okay, and I'm not saying like in a physical sense. I'm talking specifically using this telepathy technology that can't be detected with any of your 5 senses, and there are no technologies out yet to detect the signals that they're on. So it's just basically the government agencies' records that provide evidence, and the intellects and agents of that level of at that level of security. I mean, they have to attain a certain, they have to have a certain IQ, they have to meet certain requirements. It's not just anybody. We're talking about some seriously intelligent human beings here that have permissions to these records, plus people who are providing lots of support to the world, not just the United States. So I'm like, okay, so we'll go pay for it if you have the money. Then go do it yourself. Well, then why don't you block it, sweetheart? So that way you can protect your family if in fact they're going to come and do it too. If you can't do any of those 3, then you're a threat to society for as long as you live. That is the facts, okay? And I was like, it doesn't matter what, and then who knows how you earned your degree if that's the case. If you're talking in my head, who knows how you, like, he could have, everything they've ever attained could have been straight fraud, right? Yeah, I mean, he could see through my eyes. He's talking in my head. He knows how much money is in my mom's account and how much money is in my account. They know how much money is in my sister's accounts. They know, like, and they're like trying to deplete our accounts. They know what's going on in our financials, and then to know what we're saying, and no, it's not like anything. Honestly, we're so innocent. People are on to be completely honest, on a major scale. People in general are really just kind-hearted and really do hold themselves to a high standard. The terrorists, on the other hand, are some low class, these are slime balls. They'll steal, lie, murder for fun. Okay, so they can make money and go spend it and enjoy it, and they don't care who's hurt, who dies, who lost, who gained, they don't give a shit, right? All of that is to their advantage. To get back behind it and do this again like it's a game. So, like I said, they've been threatening to continue to make me feel unattractive. They want me to go kill myself. They're like, go ahead, post it, stupid bitch, who's gonna see it? And I don't personally. I want it out in the public side. I'd like to watch, mark my word, they're gonna try and hack my my social media accounts because they want to take these videos down. Like, mark my word, that is going to be the facts. And in which case, if that's the case, the Central Intelligence Agencies, Bill Gates, all of them, they want to, like I said, they want to do like one of the world's biggest investigations so that they can cut the crap now. And get it straight down to the nitty gritty and start convicting these terrorists. And basically send them out onto the streets broke and out and figuring it out on their own, and they don't give a shit about their stupid reputation after what they've done. So, and who would? threats to national security, threats to law enforcement, threats to the general public, property damage, stealing, lying, fraud, just like this whole, like, oh my gosh, and then to run it from here to the UK, and then to use people from their own country to initiate the start of their pursuit to gain their profits and whatever, right? And say and manipulate and all this crap. So, God, where was I going with this? Oh, and I was saying, well, they know all our financials, so sorry, get back on track. With that said, they know everything, and they've been trying to deplete our accounts and send us off into the streets. My kids specifically, it sounds like, because they just keep saying my daughter's name over and over again. They keep saying, haha, your son, my son's wearing bifocals. They said, oh, haha, we damaged his vision. We're the one who gave your sister Graves' eye disease and caused those tumors. We're the ones who damaged her thyroid and her pancreas, and that's why she has diabetes. We're the ones that did this. We're the ones that did that. We gave your dad a heart attack. We did this. And they're saying, like, we did, we gave Florence Joyner Jr. a sudden heart attack when she was running, and or right after she got done from a run. I can't remember how she passed away. I think she was running and it was in her home. I can't remember, or if she just collapsed while running. But they're saying they did it to another doctor from my church who also had a sudden heart attack and was found at home by his daughters and his wife. And just the psychoticness of, like, okay, and then to deteriorate your health. So even, like, this is the craziest part, like, about, so they want to defame your character and then deteriorate your health so that they can decide when you die, so that they can at that point use you as a means to investigate someone else. And say, oh, this person potentially was the cause of this, or or so that person no longer can stand in court, or whatever. I can't, like, there are obvious those are true facts, but I haven't thought it thoroughly as to the need to follow through to make sure that they die. If in fact we die, I think this is what they said, then any money that from our taxes that we've paid into our taxes that wasn't collected, any interest paid into our homes, anything that because they're claiming, and they're claiming it on behalf of different foreign countries. So I mean, on behalf of different embassies, who are the embassies permitting him. They're the ones who discuss it with the higher authorities here and say, we're going to have some confidential informants using it, and I guess at that point they're being permitted. And so what they'll say is, well, technically speaking, they damaged our our earning potential because of their lack of responsibility. You sat there and collected money, and that money is actually owed to us, right? So that they can pay off their dues. That's what it was. That's why. So that's why they want to see everyone that they make claims to die, because they're after making the person who they just defamed and abused and tortured and dragged around, okay, and abused them and deteriorated their health, to say, hey, you owe us their tax money. And oh my gosh, to die right. My dad died right before his retirement. Okay, when he was supposed to collect his retirement. So did my friend, my friend's dad. So did it's just like the when they started to present these present all of the incidences that have occurred over the course of my years, and I started to see patterns that were very similar in each one, and I was like, wait, before they collect their before they collect any of their taxes, before they their retirement, before they've and then their kids, of course, have to pass away because they don't want their kids to inherit it, because the government will say, well, no, it's their kids' inheritance. They're the ones who's supposed to. So they want to for sure wipe. They're saying they're committing genocide. They want to wipe out families, and to take claims to these retirement funds and interest paid and whatever else, right? And make these claims in court and then pay off their dues that they owe the embassies or the countries, whoever governs over these, the departments that govern over it, and the countries that they're going through, to pay them off for paying their way while conducting these investigations. And of course, the governments now have possession of money, and they're like, okay, well, wait, those are the terrorists. If that's the case, the people talking in my head, we didn't have anything to do with it. They're sending us the money. If anything, we're also victims of this crime, blah, blah, blah. Now it's making us go at odds. Why don't we all basically come together, and then we'll seek investigating these terrorists rather than you thinking that we're involved with them. And so that's the conclusions that I've come to over the course of the year, because of, it's just the nonsense going on. Like I said, they're continuing to make me feel unattractive. And it's not they're aging me at a very rapid rate. I mean, my hair is, you can see, like, this is ridiculous, okay? This, like, you can see my scalp. And when I do my hair, see? You see it right there. And they kept, and in the beginning, they kept saying scalp, 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 scalp. And then I'm walking around and I'm seeing kids with alopecia, and like chunks of their hair is like, or parts of their head is like completely bald. So I went to Knott's Berry Farm and I saw this cute girl, and oh my goodness, she had like little strings of hair, and the rest of her hair had fallen out. And the voices in my head are saying, bald bitches, you fucking bald bitches. Now he's saying, like, bitch, you're dead. He's saying it in my head. Because I'm done talking. I told him, I said, I want the monetary and monetary punitive and monetary compensation for all the damages. And, in court in front of everyone, and if in fact they decide to investigate you, or at that point use this technology to make sure they know what you're doing at all times, and you sign off those rights to them, then so be it. If it's up to me, though, I'm going to say I want you sentenced to death, period. Like, that's the bottom line. And so here I am after an hour, and now it's almost 10 o'clock. I think I'm still going to do my reading for the night, and I will, I'm going to post this and then turn around and make another video of me doing my reading, because I just want you to know what I'm doing. Because if they're investigating me and they plan on presenting it, why not just let everyone in on the actual investigation? It's up to me whether or not it's confidential. And I'm saying no, I don't want it confidential. I didn't give them consent to talk into my head, and that's the bottom line. So if that's the case and they think they can do whatever they want to me, age me, hurt me, abuse me to no end, then I want to let the world in on it, and so that they can decide, hey, am I, you know, call me crazy, fine, but as long as you know what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I, the way I'm attempting to go about it, how I actually feel about the religion and what's going on in my head, and just to be out and blatantly honest with everyone, for me, feels like the safest, most responsible thing to do. So, moving forward, again, I'm going to make these silly videos of me doing absolutely nothing. I'll be posting them on a regular. And I'm going to do as much of my day as possible, but I have to get on my phone. I have to call. I have to make calls. I have to do things. The voices want to tie me up into my emotions so that I'm always wanting to listen to music rather than to do this or be responsible. So yes, I do still entertain music on,
here is your reminder.
Okay. I guess I do still play music. Yes, I do watch movies with my kids. Yes, I do. I don't do it as excessively because I realize, hey, the voices that I'm hearing, they're consistent. And they are playing these dirty little tricks. So now being that and it sounds like because they owe money, and nobody wants to be held responsible for what the other one owes money for. They have to sit there and own, like, it just as much as it would be in the best interest of someone else, one of the other terrorists, to make sure that the ones talking in my head are talking. It's also in the interest of the ones that I hear, for the other ones to talk, because if in fact they can't, they get investigated and they're held financially responsible for the whatever atrocities, which is the fact, have gone on, then just them solely will have to come forward and pay those dues, and however they decide to investigate, however they intend to I'm sorry, to punish them, either sentence them either by being